After you do the intro,
we're live right now. We're moving right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very special day. We started this journey about a year ago, and we somehow found ourselves in Nashville, Tennessee, with one of the best men in the business who covers our team as well joining us. It's a phenomenal night. We worked our asses off to get here, guys, and we're happy to be live at the DraftKings Sports Social. So, Shane, without further ado, let's start this up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Levis towards the end zone. Got a man. Touchdown. Wow. And it's the fourth TD pass of the day in the debut of Will Levis.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. Sick! It's gonna be sick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. I'm joined, as always, by my two counterparts, Jarett and Vin. And if you're watching us live, you might have noticed another special guest with us tonight, Mr. Teron Davenport. So right off the bat, let's give a special thanks to Teron for taking the time out of his busy schedule to join us at the DraftKings Sports Social and grace us with his presence and talking some Titan football. So thank you very much, Teron. As always, friend of the show. And before we start, let's kick it off with our sponsors. Jarett, take it away.
Yeah, Vin, take it away with DraftKings, bro.
So shout out DraftKings Sports and Social for having us here tonight. TD, Tutty, taking it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they may matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown, or you can bet the Titans plus 3.5, or bet them money line plus 145 like I am doing tomorrow.
We all are.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try to get this trip here for free and bet the Titans money line to get our money back. But if you're ready to score a touchdown or a dance of your own, score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code 6SPORTS. That's code 6SPORTS for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. And get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. Crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/FTBall. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Got to give Vinny a good shout out for DraftKings. I mean, we got a huge turnout right now for DraftKings Sports and Social right now in Nashville, live with TD. But we're going to throw up another sponsor right now, Homage. Sal's rocking the Angry Runs from Will Levis right here. Homage specializes in ultra comfort, high quality looks, repping apparel, pop culture, and more legendary moments. Learn more about Homage with a link in description. Very comfortable over here. The most comfortable Victory Monday sweatshirt I've ever owned in my life. Hit the link in Twitter and in our Instagram as well.
Are we ready to roll?
Yeah, we are
Mr.
ready to roll.
Again, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Sure.
I asked you a question before we started. I was a little nervous about what the answer might be, so I wanted to ask you before we went live.
Okay.
But you gave me a little confidence. You gave me an answer I wanted to hear, so I want to let everybody know watching. I asked you the temperature of the room as far as what we saw from Will Levis, the locker room. You're a hell of a lot closer than any of the three of us. Is anybody panicking just yet, Teron?
No, there's no panic whatsoever. And I think that's the really good thing. Everybody had the big reaction to Will Levis saying he didn't lose sleep over the loss on Sunday. Look, you want your quarterback to have a short, put it behind you and move forward. I mean, everybody was, I saw DeAndre Hopkins at Jeffrey Simmons' locker chopping it up. You got Tajay Spears, Quandre Diggs busting it up. And then you got Ryan Stonehouse running court on the ping pong table. I'm telling you, the ping pong and that's how it's intense.
Yeah, they care about it.
Ryan Stonehouse, Josh Wiley, Chig, and NWI. Those are the four primary ping pong players. But I reference that as a way to say, you know what? Everything's fine. They're relaxed. It's not. There's no tension or anything like that. I mean, you look at after the game, talking to Jeffrey Simmons, you know, and I asked him specifically, like, you guys had that outing that you had.
Yeah.
How do you process this type of loss? And he was like, man, you know, it's not on the offense. I know they'll get it together in special teams. We just, as a defense, have to create more turnovers. So I think when you have a team that gave up 148 yards, right? And we're talking about 11 points total, right? Because the 3 field goals. Now, mind you, 2 of the field goals, one was off of, a 66-yard return, and the other one was a strip sack.
Yep.
They had an outstanding outing, but they said they want to do better. And I think that's a standard of excellence that Denard Wilson and everybody in that room has.
Yeah.
Just switching over to the offensive side. I mean, the offense clearly struggled in the second half. I mean, Brian Callahan and Bill Callahan talked that they had no play call for the second half adjustments against the Bears. How do you see them adjusting going against a big defensive front in the Jets and the secondary? In my opinion, if the Titans are going to win this game, they need a lot of motion with Treylon Burks or even Calvin Ridley. Get him a motion so he's not jammed up on the line. Get him on the crossers. Will Levis needs to throw the ball. We ran the ball well against the Chicago Bears. The Jets gave up a lot of runs on Mason with the 49ers. For us to win this game, we have to establish the line of scrimmage. I think we will with the Jets' defensive line. But how do you see the Titans' offense go?
Yeah, I think the main thing, and we kind of talked about it before we got on, is putting together a drive, right? And if you look at that first scoring drive, I mean, this was like they went 70-something yards and the coverage 6 minutes. But if you look at the first play, it was play action. Nick Vannett ran, a little flat route. Levis booted and dumped it. Those are rhythm type of play calls, right? And then you look on top of that, they start to get into the run, and they're mixing it up. And then when they got down to, I want to say like the 38-yard line or so, they had that pin and pull.
Yep.
And Callahan said, oh, wait a minute, we got something here. And went right back to it. And guess what? 26-yard touchdown. That's an example of how you layer play. Like you look at it and you can get into a rhythm. You can't do that if you're going 3 and out.
Yep.
You can't do that. And you look at the other drive that was capped off with Chig's 17-yard touchdown. That was an 8-minute drive. Yep. Think about that. The Bears, plays, right? the Bears fans had to watch the offense of the Titans on the field for over half of the second quarter.
So let me ask you this, and transitioning off of that, because I thought we had a lot of success with the run. And seeing what San Fran did against the New York Jets, and seeing how Will Levis struggled a little bit, do you think the Titans, to preserve his confidence a little bit, lean a little bit more on the run game this week, not only because of what they saw San Fran do to the Jets, but to maybe take the game out of Will Levis's hands a little bit? Or do you think they're just going to say, let's let this kid sling it, learn the hard way maybe, not back off of what we think he can do? Which way do you think we go? Do we play it safe, run the ball, do everything off of that, or do we just let Will Levis do his thing?
No, I think you're going to run the football, and a part of running that football is going to be letting Will Levis do his thing. Because, look, teams, you look, they went too high most of the time against the Titans. The Bears did, last week. So once they start to drop that guy down, that other safety in the single high, because you're running the ball, now that opens some things up, right? But then also, you look at play action. Go back to Ryan Tannehill. Like, how many times did they run play action? And Tannehill's got nice windows to throw the ball into because you're show and run. And linebackers, they're like pit bulls. Like, you show a steak to a pit bull, it's going to come to you, right? You show run play to a linebacker, he's going to take that step. Just naturally, he's going to take that step. And that's going to make him just a little bit out of place. And then you use motions, like you mentioned, to kind of create those windows that you want to get the football to. So that, long story short, the run is going to set up the pass and give Levis easier windows to throw the ball to, thus allowing him to get into a rhythm, get into a confidence level. You don't want it to get too confident because we know Levis, he got that hero in him.
Yeah,
it's cool, but you got to balance it.
If he doesn't lack one thing, it is confidence.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and not to harp on Will Levis and the offense, because Sal already asked you what the confidence level is like. You said that the level of confidence in Levis is still high. just to play devil's advocate, and I don't want to paint somber tones, but Italian people, sometimes we thrive on morbidity, right? Now, let's just say he continues to struggle a little bit, right? Reverts back to what he did in his past. How bad, God forbid, would it have to get before maybe you saw the Titans make a move at quarterback? Is he going to get to the bye week to show what he can do?
Man,
Or
he's got to the bye week.
let me finish. Or are they just going to say, we need to let this kid play a full season to evaluate him? Or could it get bad enough to the point where you might see them make a move? Because Mason Rudolph is a capable backup in this league.
He went 3-0 last year.
So do you think there's a threshold they have for how bad they might let him play before they make a move? Or they're all in with him?
Look, you can't have repeat errors.
Okay.
So let's
agree.
say he goes out and does what he did last week, this week, and next week. And it's a gradual thing, but it's going to take an awful lot to take Will Levis out. Because here's the thing, right? And Sal kind of hinted at it, with the Russell Wilson trade suggestion. If all else, if it went out the
I didn't
window.
say that.
Yeah. not suggestion,
Yes.
but idea.
Worst case scenario.
Idea. Let me put it that way. So when you look at that, right, if Will Levis is a failure, they're just going to be in position to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not going to put themselves in a position to where they will end up being like how they were with Ryan Tannehill, where you're just on the outside looking in order to get one of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah, Teron, you're obviously an X's and O's guy, which is why we appreciate you having you on so much because of your intel. Obviously, despite how borderline embarrassing the offensive side of the football was, we did see last week a defense that pretty much answered all the bells we thought needed to be answered. What exactly jumped off the page as far as what you saw from Denard Wilson's offense, specifically from any player or scheme? Like, what jumped off the page and made you say, okay, this is a defense that we might have not seen from this team in a long time?
It was the ability to show Caleb Williams one picture pre-snap and twist it up post-snap. And that was why he was like Sam Darnold, seeing ghosts, right? And look, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, those guys, they were running open in the secondary. But Caleb Williams was just so messed up, he couldn't get them the football, and that's why a guy like L'Jarius Sneed says he plays like crap, right? Even though he gave up 18 yards on 2 receptions. Yeah, he had a defensive hold, and one of those was the first down. I get it. But that's why that type of thing happens. And I think, that was something. But then also in the middle of that is the way he attacked. Ernest Jones, when he blitzed, like I we're up top when we're looking down. And I just was kind of like going by like how easy it was. I was like, oh, he ran over a running back. Then when I went to look at it again, I was like, damn, that's the center.
That's the center.
I mean, he trucked him. And then, he trucked him, and then he got his hands up. And that's something they're doing this week, too, working on matching hands. But he trucked him, got his hands up, and tipped it. You had Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons dropping back into coverage. Right?
Yeah.
Like he blitzed that gap. They dropped back. And that was a purposeful effort to confuse Caleb Williams, right, to create a turnover. Sweat almost caught it. I think that's something. But then also just the play of Tavondre Sweat. You had asked me about Sweat. No, I think you did. Ask me about Sweat. And I tell you, like, everybody has this idea that he's this fat dude that you drop in the middle of the line and he's just going two gap.
No.
Hey, Big Sexy's an athlete too, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's
He won me over in 1 week.
Yeah, you watch his feet. You know what I mean? But then not only does he have the bull rush, but that quick arm over.
He can swing.
And as Amani Hooker said, like he makes the running back get the football and you got, oh shoot, let me redirect. And by the time he redirects, the linebackers or the corner, whoever could come in to clean up. And that's how McCreary had that tackle for a loss.
I'm telling you, I was a big advocate of Teron Sweat. Even in mock drafts early this year, I mocked him in almost all my mocks in the second round for the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. I loved him in college. A lot of people said he was lazy, taking plays off. It's not the case. He frees up so much more for this defense. Arden Key needs to step up. You touched on they tried to do a lot with the rookie Caleb Williams this past weekend. How do you think they attacked the veteran and proven veteran in Aaron Rodgers? You think they're going to set up multiple fronts? They're going to try to confuse him because you really can't confuse Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's a mastermind, calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. How do you think they attacked him?
Yeah, they're not going to try to confuse him because he's seen it all.
Yeah.
the main thing. And it's funny because I always talk about, especially like with Stillman, you know, he's like, they drafted a guard at 11. I'm like, you got to understand the guard, center, guard, triangle. That's where the importance is now, right? And so I say all that to say this. Aaron Rodgers is one of the poster childs for how badly pushing the pocket into the quarterback's face. Yeah. It affects him so much,
absolutely.
Right? And he said it. Any quarterback. But he's been verbal about it, you know? So you want to do that, right? You want to blitz. You want to do that. But I love what Denard Wilson said, and he repeated something that he said in an answer to me back in February when he talked about pass rushers becoming a pass defender. If you cannot get to the quarterback, understand the journey's over. Like Will Levis isn't the only one that has to understand that, right? Jeffrey Simmons, everybody have to understand that. And what do? He puts his hand up, you put your hands up. Muddy the passing lane. Sometimes you're going to get a tip pass. Simmons had a tip.
There was a lot of tip passes last week.
Yeah, and that's by design because your focus is what's going to be. That's what you're going to do in games. And so naturally in practice this week, right? You got Clint McMillan, the assistant D-line coach. He's back there. They get in their stance, and they come to him, and he raises his hand with a kickball, right? And they match the hands, and he throws it, and it's different places, and they got to go up and tip it. So they're working that. So I think that's what you have to do. Understand when you're not getting home. Put your hands up, match it with them, knock the ball down. But then also you have to understand that even though he's older, he can still make those off-platform throws and extend the pockets, the play.
Speaking of offensive line play, defensive line play, we took Peter Skoronski last year, 2 years ago, plays left guard. We took J.C. Latham this year. He's playing left tackle. Last week, they showed like they were decent in spurts. It looked like they were a little stronger run blocking than they were pass blocking.
Yeah.
What are some things you like that you saw, some things you dislike? Because to me, it looked like, and I don't want to, like I said, be negative, but it looked like J.C. Latham's feet looked like they were a little slow when it came to pass blocking. Is that just something that's going to take time for him to get used to the NFL game and maybe transitioning from the right guard tackle position to the left tackle position? Or is it something that you're legit concerned about? Because if the offensive line is hindered, it's going to hinder Will Levis. And we already know what he could do when he gets ahead of himself and tries to play hero ball. I'm worried about the offensive line making it a bit worse. So where's your level of concern, if there is any, with the offensive line, especially the left side?
More concern on Skoronski's part than Latham.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like, you know, the first time you walked here, it took you a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
But if I tell you to walk here again, you're going to know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like anything. Like you get, the more familiar you get with it, the better and more efficient you're going to be able to do it.
Fair enough.
I think the main thing with Latham is that, but then also understanding, you know, where your help is, right? But then also just the technique that you're asked to do. So there's a lot going on in his mind right now. So naturally, it's going to be a little bit slower.
Fair enough.
Now, Skoronski, you got a year in. This is year 2. His feet are slow. His eyes are in the wrong spot. Like, that's where I would be concerned.
So you have legit concern at this point about Peter Skoronski?
I'm not going to say legit concern, but I have, like, it's to the point where I'm going to be watching 77 more than anybody else.
And not only is it noticeable for you, but do you think it's noticeable for people within the Titans locker room and the likes of?
Oh, yeah, it better be.
Okay.
Shoot, if I can see it, they damn sure better be able to see it. You know what I mean? And they do. And this is the thing, right? Like, what you have to do
from the middle of the show
as a coach is you got to find a way. You got to find a way to coach him hard, but also not kill his confidence. And so many people, like, don't understand, like, how mental that game is. If your confidence is shot, forget it.
It don't matter what you're doing in life. If you have no confidence, especially when you're playing in the NFL, then it's all for nothing.
Well, that leads me to our next question, Teron, and I got to be honest, you know, I'm still scratching my head on this. One thing I think none of us, nobody watching, nobody inside the locker room had any doubts about is Will Levis's arm strength, and we didn't really see them stretch the field at all last week. Now, obviously, the pressure was there. He didn't have a lot of time in the pocket, but when you got guys like Calvin Ridley, you got guys like DeAndre Hopkins. Hell, you got guys like Jaquan Jackson who can absolutely burn it down the sideline, and you barely take next to 0 shots downfield. I mean, that's a bit of a head scratcher, especially when Brian Callahan comes on the scene and he's saying this is going to be a different offense. We're going to throw the football. We're going to try to score points. And then I think you can attest to this, Teron. At least the first 2 drives last week was as 2023 Titans as you're going to get. I mean, this was right out of Todd Downing's handbook. Couple screens, you know, a shitty throw across the field, and then we're off the field. You know, there was no creativity. And then when you see what they were doing in the preseason, like my jaw was dropping. I was almost brought to tears because
vanilla in the preseason.
But still, it was just we were doing end arounds. We were doing things that you would maybe see once or twice a year as a Titan fan. And then it was like everything kind of changed once it was game time on Sunday. Bottom line is, point of the question is, for us tomorrow being in the stadium, can we expect to maybe see, even with the terrible performance by Levis, them giving him the keys to kind of spread the field a little bit more? Because this has got to be something we got to look forward to doing.
Again, it goes back to, so I checked it. There's 61 snaps, right, on offense. Generally, you want to be in the high 60s or 70s. That's generally where you want to. So you didn't really have a chance to get into the bag, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Didn't really have a chance to get into the bag. They did take some shots, right? You know, you had the one where Ridley had to kind of curve back inside because Levis couldn't step into it. Then the one on the left was just overshot. You just got hit on that. You got to get those right. But I think if you go back to Callahan's first press conference, you know, I asked him about balance in the offense, and he said, like, make no mistake about it, we're going to run the football. We're going to be physical when we need to be physical, right? And you got 2 running backs for a reason. So they're going to run the football, but it goes back to setting it up, using the run to set up the pass. You'll see the ball start to get spread around because that's something also, you know, I asked Nick Holtz about, like, hey, what was happening? Like, what was keeping you guys from getting everybody involved? Because that was the big thing, right? And obviously, you know, Hopkins, he played 15 snaps. But he mentioned just that. You can't get into a rhythm as a play caller if you're going 3 and out, you know what I mean? Or 6 and punt. Like, you can't do that. So that was the big issue.
Yeah. So let me go for it, Jarett.
Go.
No, I was just going to ask, because we were talking about the offense, we were talking about the passing game. Is there a bit of concern with you with kind of how cryptic the Titans have been about DeAndre Hopkins' knee?
No.
Because it kind of seems like, you know, he was taking some time away from the game to get healthy. It was a knee injury. We didn't know the extent of it. Then it comes out that his ACL was torn. MCL, I'm sorry. Then it comes out this week that it's just a sprain. But a sprain kind of is a partial tear. And last week we didn't really see him targeted at all. I think he had 1 catch. We saw clips of him in practice, courtesy of you and other insiders on the team, where he kind of looked like he's dragging that leg a little bit. Is there a level of concern for you at all with the health of DeAndre Hopkins?
No concern. He hasn't showed up on the injury report. No status on Friday, so that's a good thing. And I tell you, if you go back to when the injury happened, you talk about cryptic, right? The injury, I remember it was a Tuesday, seeing him with like a tape type sleeve.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, what's he doing on his left leg?
Yeah.
So then the following day, the Wednesday, he went through individual period, but didn't do one-on-ones. And then he left. And then that's when that Thursday it came out that he had the injury. So he was going to be out.
So you're expecting him to be more involved going forward?
Going forward, yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, to your point about being cryptic, I don't think that they've been cryptic. I think, if anything, Hopkins has been cryptic, you know, because once he came back, like that second practice, he didn't have anything on, you know, and I haven't seen him with anything on since then. So I think he's fine. I don't have any doubts he'll be able to go.
Because I think his health is very pivotal to Will Levis's development as a quarterback. We saw how comfortable he made Will Levis at times, and him being healthy, I think, would only pay dividends to Will Levis's development in his second year.
They put the report last year like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's his safety net. You know, that's who he says YOLO, you know what I mean? And throws the ball to, you know. And Hopkins he's still a legit top-tier wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, Teron, I mean, we're talking about the offense. We're talking about defense. I don't think the defense is going to struggle at all tomorrow, to be honest with you. I think they're going to get after Aaron Rodgers. We were on a Jets podcast, me and Vinny, yesterday, Jets Afterburner, and they're concerned about their offensive line with their cohesiveness. I mean, they have Teron Smith. They have 2 guards from Baltimore. They have
Morgan Moses.
The other one, the USC kid, who tore his ACLs back-to-back years. I forgot his name. Whatever. I'm not a Jet guy. But
Okay.
Either way, they haven't played together. And I think T'Vondre Sweat, I think Jeffrey Simmons, I think that whole front is going to get after Aaron Rodgers, cause disarray, and I think the Titans are going to be fine on the defensive side of the ball, especially containing Garrett Wilson, because they like to put him in motion. They like to put him in tight sets on your whiteboard Wednesdays. I seen that, how they had like to bring the wide receivers, across the field, and they bring Garrett Wilson, to the sideline. They love that. I'm confident in our safeties and our secondary and the ability to do that. The concern for us Titan fans and everybody listening right now is Will Levis going to bounce back? How are they going to win this game on offense with that defensive front against the Jets? With Sauce, with DJ Reed, who's possibly going to play tomorrow. I know he was on the injury report. How are they going to attack this front? How are they going to get over the 17-point hump? Because it's been a disaster. It's been like every year, the last couple of years now, it feels like the Titans are just dead stopped at 17 points. They can't get over that 20-point mark. They can't get over the 30-point mark again. Like, how do they get above that now?
Yeah, run the football. They got to establish the run and then go with high percentage passing plays also off of that. And they got to spread the ball around. But most importantly, you got to find ways to be successful on first and second down. That's the big thing, right? Because if you're, you saw it all Derrick Henry's life as a Titan, right? You run the ball on first down, no gain. It's 2nd and 10. You're like, all right, Henry. You can't put yourself in second and long. You can't put yourself in third and behind the chain, because then the whole play calling shifts, and now it's totally different. So that's really the key above all other things.
You would think they would start fast at home. They have to. It's going to be a ruckus crowd. There's a lot of Jet fans on Broadway. As always, it's a destination city. But you have to start fast at home after that poor performance, because we literally gave that game away to the Chicago Bears. 17 points. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown. It was all field goals, all defensive touchdowns. They have to start fast at home, and it's got to be in a hurry, in my opinion. We get the ball, we have to score, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, first play, I'll go play action. Yeah. I'm going up top.
I like
Not
that.
Against Sauce. I'm hoping that Sauce doesn't travel. Right, if I'm the play caller, I'm hoping that he doesn't travel, and I'm going play action over top to Ridley. Like, we're going to establish. That's how I would approach it.
I like that. And that pass to Ridley last week on the last drive of our game was whose fault was that? Was that Levis or Ridley? It was Ridley's fault.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cut back.
So they run. So that back shoulder, and I couldn't believe Callahan said it. I'm like, damn, you told us that.
Yeah.
So at 10 yards, you're supposed to look for the ball.
Okay.
Right. And so Levis, he's taking it and he's throwing it at the back of the helmet.
Okay.
Right. And at 10 yards though.
Yeah.
So really he gets to 10, he's supposed to jump back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a detailed, like a trained back shoulder.
Let me ask you this. One more question for you. We talked about Callahan a lot. You've been with the Titans for a while now. Let me just ask you, and you can be as honest as you want to be. What do you think is the biggest difference between a Mike Vrabel locker room that you've been accustomed to the last few years and a Brian Callahan locker room?
That's a great question.
You know what I mean? What is the biggest difference? And that's no knock on Mike Vrabel. We know he's a great coach. But what do you think has been the biggest difference? Because this team seems like it's got a bit of camaraderie in its first year in Callahan's tenure. What's been the biggest difference between a Mike Vrabel locker room and a Brian Callahan locker room?
Well, the camaraderie is still the same. It was even good back then. But the main difference is guys feel more empowered.
I feel like they could be themselves a little bit more, maybe.
Not only that, like you look at Nick Westbrook and Kenny, Nicholas, Petit Ferrer.
Yeah.
You look at Josh Wiley. Like, these guys are like
personalities. Yeah.
But they feel empowered in that Landry said it best. Howard Landry said it best when he said that it's not just one box. There are other boxes unlocked, and guys feel like the work that they put in, like they're confident in that work, and they feel like they could actually do their own thing. Like they feel trusted.
Okay.
Whereas Vrabel, he was iron fist. Like,
he was.
Hey, you gonna do it this way, or you gonna be gone.
That's right.
Or I'm gonna make life really tough for you. That's how it was.
Because of the fact of like Treylon Burks, he was a natural slot. He wasn't a slot.
Yeah.
Todd Downey's offense and even Tim Kelly's offense. Now he's going back into the slot.
Yeah.
I feel like they're geared towards the players now.
We got to stop having Treylon do end arounds.
Oh my God! Dude, seriously.
Why do you use the slowest receiver to do an end around? Explain that to me, Teron.
I think Treylon's the best with the ball in his hands.
You got a point there.
Yeah,
so you
after the
try
catch,
to get him the
not
ball,
after
but
the catch.
Well, he
ball.
can stiff arm a lot of dudes easily.
Yeah,
it
but not
just
as-
hasn't. It just hasn't really materialized.
So
But
let's-
I talked to him Thursday in the locker room, just one-on-one talking to him. I mean, his head is good.
Yeah.
He wants to do his thing, and he's not pressing or anything like that. So
All right, Teron. Well,
Wait, before you go, really
No,
quick,
go ahead.
because he's on the Treylon Burks. To me, wide receivers are divas. You need that diva, right? That attitude. A.J. Brown. We love A.J. Brown as a Titan.
Please stop.
No, I'm just saying,
talking
we
about him.
love A.J. Brown as a Titan. There was
Oh,
a diva
my
wide
God.
receiver. I want the ball, made plays for us after the catch. Treylon Burks, to me, seems soft-spoken, great kid. I just need an attitude as a wide receiver. Give me the ball. I'm taking it to the house. Treylon Burks, to me, it doesn't emulate what A.J. Brown is.
yeah.
Obviously, you have D-Hop, you have Calvin Ridley, you have Tyler Boyd. Those are established veterans in the league. Treylon Burks, he could be the best fourth wide receiver in the league, theoretically, as a former first-round draft pick. But to me, he doesn't have that attitude like, give me the ball, I'm taking it to the house like A.J. Brown did.
Yeah, it doesn't surface the most. But AJ, like, he's just different.
Of
I
course
mean,
he is.
you know,
Yeah.
you talk top
He's a
five
top 3 guy.
receivers.
Yeah,
he's
top 3 to 5.
So it's
Hands down.
unfortunate for Treylon to continue to be compared to that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna
But-
say that.
I think he has it in him. And there are certain times, like
Show
you
it.
look at my favorite corner in the league, Jair Alexander. But that
Yeah.
play action deep shot it in Green Bay, he got up and he hit him with that.
Yeah.
You're too
You
small.
need more of it.
You know what I mean? And then you look at when he caught the deep pass on Cam Taylor-Britt here against Cincinnati that same year. He got up and he was hyped. He has it in him. Even like I remember talking to the receivers about, one-on-one coverage. And how do you feel when there's one-on-one coverage? There's no safety over top. He kind of showed me his teeth a little bit. Like he's like, man, I take that effing personally. So it's in him, but they just have to find some way to pull it out more.
Gotta get that dog out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you
Dog's
said,
gotta
it's
come
not
out.
really fair that he's still being compared to A.J.
Yeah.
Brown. And we brought this up the day of the trade, that the rest of this kid's career, he's going to be compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
A.J. Brown. And
Yeah.
it's not fair.
I don't think he is anymore, though.
Yeah, but it's
I'll
not.
be
Well, here's the
compared.
thing. We're still
It's
talking
just-
about it.
it's
We're
just-
still
We're
talking
trying to
about
make
it.
sure he's on the freaking field
We're
right
still
now.
talking about
Yeah.
it.
We're
You know?
talking about it because we want. It's a first-round draft pick.
Right. You want to
Okay.
return on that investment, without a
Of
doubt.
course.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. You want
Teron,
to
last
return.
question. Obviously, it's great that you cover the Titans and you're unbiased because you have no direct line to them. So let me ask you directly, Teron. You're going to be watching the game with us Sunday. How do you see this playing out? What do you think the final outcome is going to be? Do you think we get our first win? Because only one team's walking away with a win tomorrow, and the other team's going to be 0-2.
Yeah, that's
Be honest.
We
that's
asked you
tough.
up front. We asked you
Yeah,
up front.
and so the thing is, it's really tough because these are two teams. They're similar. Like
Yeah.
they want to play defense, they want to create turnovers, and you don't know what you're getting out of your quarterback.
Yeah, on both ends.
Both ends.
There's got to be one guy you trust more, though. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're just going on quarterback, I'm going
Yeah.
to trust Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
more. But
Oh, of
I
course.
think. I think the Titans win this game. I think
agree.
it's going to be close though.
Give me a
Like
score.
I'm
TJ.
talking like 17-14. Like
Ooh, my God,
something like
17-16.
We
Yeah.
can't
On a
get over
podcast.
17.
We can't get over 17, but a win is a win.
A win is a win.
TD, you got the score prediction, but the most important part, I mean, Sal talked about the score. What's the fit for tomorrow? You are the fittest. You got the cleanest outfit every day. What's
Yeah,
your
it's
game
true.
day fit tomorrow?
Yeah, I have two in mind. With this rain, like,
No, there's gonna be no
I
rain tomorrow.
may-
No rain tomorrow.
well, if it is, I got a rust colored jacket
Okay.
with matching Jordan 13s
Okay.
and some white jeans. And a
Well, I
button
know
up and,
you got to give Levis some tips because I saw his fit when he got on the plane last week.
You didn't like the sage?
He didn't look like no franchise guy. I'll tell you that much. All right, every guy who's a franchise guy, he's dressed at a 9. Looked like he just got done going to a winery. So let's hope maybe he has some better fit going into the game this week. But we're thankful that he kept his mouth shut. He can go on social media and post more promo videos. He said he didn't get any sleep, and we're going to find out whether or not he really was able to get some
Seriously,
sleep. So
we need it in the worst way tomorrow.
absolutely,
Going into
absolutely.
Green Bay next week, we need a
Because
win.
it's a big opportunity. You take down Green Bay tomorrow. I mean, I'm sorry,
Jets.
the Jets tomorrow. You're 1-1. You're going to go against Green Bay with Malik Willis. You have to assume you have the advantage there. And then week 4,
Got banged up Tua.
All the best to Tua. We're going to pray for him, but it doesn't look like he's going to be playing football anytime soon. So we can have a clear path to being 3-1 after 4 weeks. And I think we need to be at least 2-2, hopefully 3-1, and winning cures a lot. Winning cures a lot.
Listen, we're a conference now. No more NFC. This is the AFC. So.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Teron, cannot thank you enough for doing this. We're so happy you were part of this big step in our journey here.
Yeah.
And you're one of the biggest friends of the show. And listen, it's been an honor to have you on. We can't wait to be back here. Maybe next time we'll be doing the show from Nissan Stadium. So
hey, how about it?
And you'll be here with us as well. So
I know somebody's got on-field passes. I don't know.
So what are we doing?
I think we're at Vogel on.
We got Vogel.
We got Vogel over here. So.
All right.
There he is. Teron Davenport, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, DD. The best in the business is not even close.
Yes.
So now we got our draft specialist here. I was already chopping it up with Mr. Vogel.
Nashville native.
Nashville native.
He roots for the Eagles, though. This kid's ass backwards.
Yeah, he's got Eagle stuff on.
Okay, look, if you want to understand the connection I have with Jason Kelsey, I met him.
You both like to drink a lot of beer.
Well, that too, yep. But we have another thing in common, which is if I were to lift this shirt up, you would understand.
Okay, fair enough.
You got the dad bod rocking?
Dad
I
bod.
think we all do over
all
here.
the hair.
Look,
Jason's got a lot of hair, okay? Like, he's like, people say, hey, put some hair on that chest. And I go, guys, if you knew.
Speaking of dad bods, though, in your profile, it says girl dad, right?
Yes, sir.
You have a daughter?
Yes, sir.
I have a girl on the way. She's due New Year's Eve.
Oh, my God.
Exactly my thoughts. Any advice for a future girl dad as a current girl dad?
Look,
before we get into the serious business.
Roll with it, man.
Roll with it.
Like, girls are going to be a little bit more, as babies, when they're little, they're a little bit louder. Okay. So, like, you're going to wake up more at night. Okay. But roll with it, because as they get older, like, my 5-year-old daughter just pulled her first little manipulation tactic on me.
Cuteness manipulation, right?
Yeah,
my wife's been pulling on me for 5 years.
It's the worst, bro. I'm telling you, my three or two with my wife. Shout out Jen, obviously one of the best wife out here for even letting me live my dream doing this right now at the sports.
Jen Foot, shout out Jen Foot.
Yes, absolutely. My boys are probably watching. Shout out Luke and Logan. Love you guys. My boys, the manipulation. They get me all the time. I mean, you know, they try to get you one over on you. You're going to experience that. You probably
how old are your boys, though?
They're going to be 6 next month.
Okay, so they're right there. She just turned 5 in August.
Oh, man.
And she just pulled her first little manipulation between mom and dad.
You're dead.
Good for her.
And she pulled it off, too.
Good
she
for
fooled
her.
me.
Good for her.
That's what I'm saying.
Good for her.
You're gonna wake up one day and you're going to be like, my girl is smarter than me, and I don't know what to do about that.
I just hope she looks more like me than my wife, because if she's as cute as my wife is, I'm going to have a problem.
All right. Well,
I hear you.
He covered his tail there. I didn't know where that was going. Also, shout out Alyssa Lombard as well.
That's right.
Shout out Alyssa.
Yes.
The best wife. We'll give 1A and 1B to my wife.
Shout out to my future wife if you're watching. Shout out to you wherever you're at.
Wherever you're at. I think she's at her high school graduation.
She might be right across this bar.
Wow.
You better get on it. Let's go.
Let's go.
RJ, what's going on, my man?
We got the
Tice
boys are rolling through now.
Boys are rolling through over here.
Rolling through. Yes,
Taylor,
so
we got
obviously.
Coleman from Two-Tone Blue Nation. We got everybody over
this
here.
is a great turnout. But let's pick Mr. Vogel's brain while he's up here. I talked to him a little bit down there. I'll give him his props, even though I think he would agree. Levis had some shining moments last year. You were definitely on board with giving him a year off, letting Tano take the reins. At the end of the day, it's his team now. We saw a pitiful performance from him in Chicago. You know, you're a scout guy. Like, do you still have any optimism that this could be our guy to be a franchise guy, or you really just are still kind of like, I don't know if this is the guy?
Yeah, no, I think there's still reason to hold out hope, right? Yeah. If you go back and you look at Aaron Rodgers and you look at, other quarterbacks that sat for a couple of years. Jordan Love is a big one right now. Guys that sat behind quarterbacks and took their time into the league, you see that it takes time to develop. The NFL is a different game speed. It's just like we're watching Travis Hunter up here making plays on the screen, like tonight, just right now, right in front of us, and he's been making plays all year.
Yeah.
And every NFL player acknowledges that he's not going to be able to play both ways when he goes to the NFL, right?
Absolutely not. No.
And that's because the NFL plays at a different speed. Okay, so if the NFL's really playing a different speed, well, the quarterbacks are going to have to adjust that speed too. And sometimes that takes a couple of years for somebody to really pick up on that stuff. So you got to give the criticisms that I had about Levis coming out, I'm going to put aside to just point to the fact that you've got a whole new coaching staff coming in. You've got a whole new culture change. This is a totally different offense compared to what you ran last year. So in year 2, you're already going through that change, right? You don't expect great results week 1 on the road against a defense that they put a lot of investment, into that defensive line specifically to bring that pressure. So I can't fault him for the Chicago performance, and I think that's why you need to hold out hope, is because it's a brand new staff.
Yeah,
you don't just change a team and flip half your roster and expect things to be great on week 1.
Yeah,
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, those were bonehead mistakes, like you said in the press conference. I mean, you're going to take a veteran quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, taking the stack. He's not going to flip a ball and get a pick 6 for a touchdown. I mean, we gave that game to the Bears away. We were up 17-0. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. Our defense held it 148, like Teron said, 148 yards. How do you see Will Levis going into this game against the Jets defense? Like I asked Teron, we talked last night at Vinny's house, right? To me, I'm like almost off. I mean, I'm wearing his jersey, for Christ's sakes, but I'm switching it up because I wore it last week. I mean, I got bad karma. I'm a very superstitious kind of guy. I'm going Jeff Simmons. I'm going Jeff Simmons tomorrow, game day. How do you, like, to me, like, he was at Penn State with Sean Clifford, right?
Yeah.
He lost the job to Sean Clifford. And he had this big, tremendous arm. Sean Clifford at Penn State was not a tremendous quarterback. I've been to a couple whiteout games at Penn State. I've seen Penn State. They never got over the hump with Sean Clifford. How did he lose that? Now he goes over to the SEC, to Kentucky, competes in that pro-style offense, looks good with the deep arm with Wan'Dale Robinson, et cetera, with all those wide receivers, gets drafted. Supposedly could have got drafted number 1 overall, but got bumped to the second round to us to 33, and then showcases this, okay? Now, Sean Clifford, now full turn over here, like I told these guys yesterday. Malik Willis gets traded to Green Bay. Sean Clifford is in Green Bay. Malik Willis beats out Sean Clifford. It's like a constant circle right now. How does that wrap around? Like, is Will Levis the guy, in my opinion? Because all that QB motion going around in circles, Sean Clifford, Will Levis, Malik Willis. Like, how does that transpire to the NFL?
It's easy to sit here live in a bar.
It's great
on a podcast. Yeah, this place is awesome, by the way, if you haven't been out here. It's really easy to come up with a soundbite and be like, yeah, no, he's not the guy, da-da-da, or he is the guy. The fact is the jury's still out on Levis, right? How many games has he played? 10?
12. It's going to be
12.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so 12. He's got his 12 games tomorrow. He's played 11. You really don't get an idea of what you have until you've seen 32 games from a guy. You know what I'm saying? So when you're going to invest a franchise into him, you got to take 2 seasons into account. I guess that'd be 34 games now. But you take 2 seasons into account and see, okay, how did he stack up? What was the consistency like? You get a good full picture of what that looks like after 2 seasons. Okay, so really this whole year has to be okay, how does he process? How does he handle pressure? How does he handle a Chicago loss like that where you blow a 17-0 lead with your mistakes, right? If he comes back and he goes to the locker room, he takes accountability, I guarantee you that those guys are going to follow him to the end, right? Because accountability is the number one thing when it comes to teammates, when it comes to people working together in the same type of a workplace, right? But if he were to turn his, attention, say, hey, the offensive line has to protect me better.
Yeah.
That's not something that, 12 games into your career, you've earned the right to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
I know you'll lose the locker room probably pretty quickly.
Exactly. And you don't want to lose the locker room in those 2 years. That's part of the evaluation, right? Because I got to say, is he a man is he a kid, a guy who's going to inspire men? And for Levis, the jury's still out there. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room. Mr. Davenport over there has a much better idea what's going on in that locker room than I do. He's around it every day. And so he would have the definite answer, or at least a better idea of what that looks like.
So let me ask you this, Robo. What were your knocks as a scout on Will Levis coming out of college?
Well, we discussed it on this show.
And
we did.
Let's reiterate it, though.
Yeah.
because I think certain people whose confidence levels are still high and Will Levis need to hear it. So what were your knocks on him coming out of college? And has he improved upon that yet? And if not, on a scale of 1 to 10, really, what's your confidence level that he can be I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 guy, but a starting level quarterback in the NFL who could take a team to the playoffs?
If I was going to put a confidence like on a scale there, I would say a 5, 6 in that area right now.
Fair.
Okay. Because he's shown me flashes.
He's shown all his flashes.
One of the things that you do that you're taught,
and I still think we're hanging on to that first game.
No, the first game. I mean, there's moments throughout last year too where he absolutely shined.
Yeah.
Where you see that arm talent, you see that mobility. Okay. The biggest knock that I had on Levis coming out was he needs to understand who he is as a player. That was the biggest thing to me. And we talked about it, last year when I talked to him at the Music City Bowl right here in Nashville. He came down, they played Iowa. Now, he didn't play in that game, but I talked to him on the sideline a couple hours before the game. And one of the big questions that I had for him was, hey, you got a Senior Bowl invite. You got a lot of hype going into the season. Like, are you going to go to the Senior Bowl? Are you going to go do that? And his answer to me was, well, we're asking around NFL teams, seeing if that's something that we need to do, which professionally sounds like a great answer.
Yeah. As a leader, though, that's not really what you
need to go to Mobile.
Yeah.
You need to go to Mobile.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this because I'm friends with Jim Nagy at the Senior Bowl, great guy, director of the Senior Bowl. I'm not saying that because I go to Mobile every year, but because when you go to the Senior Bowl, you get an opportunity to sit down. We got some Jets fans walking in.
Fucking about time. I'm walking around the city all fucking day.
They're all going.
I'm going to the bar.
Every goddamn bar we go to.
No, they're all.
It doesn't make any sense. I would have thought I was in Jersey again, wearing Titans gear.
They're all going to the Barstool bar. They're not coming here to DraftKings.
Yeah.
Okay,
I guarantee you, this is the first fucking year in the last 20 years. They watched more than 5 games this year.
I
guarantee.
Tight up, Jack.
There we go.
Right now in DraftKings.
There we go.
But I think you need to go to Mobile, and it's because you get a heads up on the interview process.
Yeah.
You get in front of teams. You start to showcase your knowledge, and when you don't do that, it's really easy to take that as an NFL team and go, he's hiding something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that was kind of the feeling around Levis. That's why he slipped into the second round.
Yeah, and I said this from the jump, and I mentioned it last week. I think he kind of thought he was a little bigger than the moment last week. He kind of thought.
When you see him trying to run over defenders and over
dude, that was like Tua the other night, on Thursday night. He lowers his shoulder and he's got a concussion. Now he's going to be out.
Right.
Like, you got to take care of your family at that point. Stop, slide.
Yeah.
You're a franchise quarterback. You're going to get paid $40 million.
I know.
And I hear you on that, but it's really tough if you think about today's social media age, right? If this was 15 years ago, Twitter's still little, nobody really has a Facebook. It gets written in the newspapers, and what's the newspaper say? Oh, well, he could have lowered his shoulder and got the fourth down. But no, now that's instant. And then people send that stuff out. So when Mike McDaniel said the other night, I'm not trying to take the attention away from the Titans. Sorry, guys. When Mike McDaniel said the other night about, hey, talking about his health right now is the worst thing for him because that's what everybody's talking about. Yeah. And you just take that in continuously, right? So I get that. Like, if you're in that type of a situation, you want to get the first down, because if you don't lower your shoulder and get the first down, what's social media say? Everybody goes, he should have lowered his shoulder. He had the first down right there.
I just kind of think, and it worries me, because he will not last in this league playing like that.
No, you're right.
100%. He's not the size of Cam Newton. He's not the size of Josh Allen. And here he is right up here, plugging his mayonnaise.
Mr. Mayo.
It's so crazy.
Great commercials.
Get your money. Get your money, Will.
Before you even say anything, we got stuff in front of us right now with Tennessee. You guys didn't want to jump in on the 3:30, 6:30 games with me. They're at 58-0 right now, and the spread was 49.5.
I don't know.
I was going to take Tennessee outright because I'm right now one Ole Miss away from hitting the parlay right now. So 58-0 right now. The Volunteers are shithousing Kent State.
It's not even halftime yet.
Could have in-gamed it.
Your kids don't have to go to community college if you hit this bad, is what you're saying.
Basically.
But getting back to Will Levis, though, jokes aside, is it fair for me to say that from what we've seen so far from last year to this year, his inability to protect himself, I've said on the show, I think this is just kind of who he is as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And is it fair for me to say I think that is who he will always be? Whether he curtails it or not a little bit is up to him. But I think that is in his DNA. And it makes me nervous because, like I just said, you will not survive in this league playing like that.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And, I mean, that was the big takeaway when I talked to him, that at the Music City Bowl was, does this guy think he's better than he really is?
It is, exactly.
You know? And so,
which is the worst kind of player and person in the world, in my opinion. Someone who thinks they're better than they actually are.
It's very hard, when you leave Penn State, you go to Kentucky. At that point in time, if you think about it, that was kind of a step up. You're going from the Big Ten to the SEC. Now there's an argument over which one's better. The SEC still put more NFL players in the league, right? And you go dominate for a year. And you put that incredible film out there that had people comparing you to Josh Allen, right? I think it's very difficult as a human being just to kind of see that. And you can say that you're locking it out all that you can, right? Like you can say that, oh, yeah, no, I don't pay – you're paying attention to it.
Yeah.
You see that.
You have to. Whether you like it or not, it's in your face because you talked about social media.
Yeah, social media is always – and people are tagging you and you're going to see stuff.
It's hard to avoid it.
It's very difficult to.
John.
So,
you got the guy from CBS. What's his name? Presco or something? He compared him to Josh Allen. I mean, I'm going to get my phone's about to blow up right now, what I'm about to say right now, because all my friends are watching right now saying Will Levis could be compared to Josh Allen. But theoretically, after the first year, Josh Allen moved like shit.
2 years. Pretty much 2 years.
I'm not saying that Will Levis, not at all. Guys, back at home, I am not saying
I am.
Will Levis is
I'm back on board.
Josh Allen.
Levis is Josh Allen.
I'm just saying in general, like, he has the ability to do it. He's tall. He's huge. He has the arm strength.
And he's got more fucking aggression.
He has aggression. Yeah, he doesn't go home to do it.
That could be a weakness as much as it could be a strength.
No, of course
you don't
it
know
could
how
be.
to harness it, man.
It could be.
That's what you're hoping, right? And that's why I'm saying he's played. If tomorrow's his 12th game, he's still got 20 games until you really figure out who he is, right? And if he doesn't lose the locker room in that span, you're on a good track.
Yeah, we know he has the arm.
So you feel as though, because I asked Teron about it earlier, there's no situation, barring injury, you see them pulling him for the likes of Mason Rudolph. You have to see it out with this kid, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or if, let's just, for argument's sake, John, it doesn't get any better, maybe it gets a little worse, where you see him revert back to the things he did in week 1, in week 2, in week 3, and week 4.
Yeah, no, tomorrow.
Is there some sort of leash, do you feel, on him internally with the franchise that maybe isn't spoken about, but they know exists?
Tomorrow, there's no way he gets pulled. The earliest, I think you have to be 1-9 and down by 20 in your 11th game before you pull it.
I agree.
Fair enough.
I don't think you're going to be in that situation.
Well, I mentioned this earlier, and I'll say it's on blue in the face. I think in this specific situation, it's you either have to succeed with him or you have to crash and burn and try it again next year.
Right. And the other thing that I'll point out, too, is I had a lot of Titans fans, because National Guard in the state of Tennessee, there's a lot of Titans fans. And shout out for serving the country. Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys. We were in Bulgaria this year for annual training in May, and people we're all hanging out we're all crammed in a barracks room, and they're like, Vogel, what do you think about the Titans? That kind of stuff. So I took a lot of crap for saying, hey, this is a rebuild year, guys. I know that you're getting a lot of talent. I know that you made a move for L'Jarius Sneed. I know you went out there and you added Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard and Lloyd Cushenberry, Tyler Boyd. I understand that, but this is a rebuild year. This is Rand Carthon's first real season in charge.
Yeah.
If you look at that power struggle that happened in the Titans front office, it was really between Rand and Mike Vrabel, right? So now Rand's in charge. That means that he really has a 2-year clock.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 3-year clock, right?
Probably to the new stadium, I would say, at least.
So, they're not going to pull the plug a year before you get your new stadium. If they're going to pull the plug, they're going to do it then.
Yeah.
Right? So he understands, look, this is a rebuild year. We're going to go out there. We're going to try to be competitive. We're going to see where we need to get better. And then once we start to get a little bit better, now we know the exact avenues that we need to attack in our roster and what we need to rebuild on. Oh. So I'm not expecting, 10, 11, 12 wins out of the Titans this year. I'm expecting something that's a little bit more toward the top 16 picks.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, it could be in that range. And you're going to go get another great player next year, and you're going to start to fill those holes, those things that you're like, okay, we can upgrade this position, we can upgrade that position. This year is really being played out, in my opinion, at least just looking at it from a roster building standpoint and looking at the other 31 teams and what they did. This year is all about trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to fix? What needs to change? What can we improve on? How can we improve that and attack in 2025 again?
So for us, as Titan fans, like you just said, the only thing, in our opinion right now, the only thing that needs to improve for us to be even competitive and possibly go to the promised land is the quarterback position. You can't do what you did last week. That's why you said reverting back to where you're going. Will Levis is not going to make those mistakes he did last week.
You don't know that.
You don't know it, but
I'm
you
pretty
hope.
confident
You
hope.
You're very confident that he's not going to do that.
I said it last week. I'll say it again. I don't think he's going to do any more shovel passes ever
no
again in the
way.
sideline.
I don't care what you say. These players watch Twitter. They see the fan interactions, whether they see us or not. Does not matter. They see the criticism, what's going on.
Oh, yeah. He could be watching right now. It wouldn't shock me in any way if he was watching right now.
He knows he screwed up bad last year.
I love you to death, bro. Always will.
Yes. With
Look,
the shovel
the
pass.
big thing, too, I think,
Sorry,
that you got to think about is the quarterback room. Okay? You guys watch Hard Knocks this year?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. How many times did they cut to the quarterback room on Hard Knocks this year?
Quite often.
A lot.
Yeah.
Okay? And why did they do that? Well, obviously because Caleb Williams is there, right? He's the headliner this year in the NFL. But it's a very important room. There's a lot of messages that are spread there. Okay, so you don't think the quarterback's coach sat there and went through the tape and went, that was a stupid fucking play. What are you thinking there, Will?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to make with this?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's accountability that's held within the organization. There's accountability that's held with the players in the locker room. And then there's accountability held to himself. Okay, so as long as you have the right structure there in place, he's not going to come out and try to throw a shovel pass where he's getting sacked and fall to his knees and sit there and give us the meme like this, where he's sitting there and the guy's taking it back for a touchdown. He's on the ground.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen again.
Obviously, that photo, unfortunately, no matter how well we do now, future, that picture is going to haunt him for a long time. And, I think even he regrets obviously doing that, but I think it was such a shock to even him. But that was the first reaction that he could think to do, and that's just unfortunate. But as the DJ,
there's no doubt he's a passionate player.
Let me ask you this, not to cut you off.
No, we're gonna wrap up.
We want to help our quarterback in every which way possible. We've invested the last 2 years in the first round in the offensive line. I asked Teron. He seemed to have more. He's a little more worried about Skoronski than he is Latham. Is there a little bit of level of concern for you with the Titans' offensive line, especially the left side, where we've seen Skoronski struggle at times last year, but we made excuses for him because it was the appendectomy. He was never fully healthy. We see him struggle last week, and then we see Latham in his first game look like at times his feet were heavy. He was getting beat to the punch. Is there any level of concern with you with the offensive line, specifically the left side, and our last 2 years first-round picks?
So when they took Skoronski, I thought left guard. I didn't think Skoronski was going to have the ability to play tackle, which they really didn't try too much. They kept him at guard. And then, that starts a whole debate about, okay, is that worth spending a first-round pick considering what guards are paid right now?
Yeah.
That gets you into a whole salary cap argument. But if you think that he's going to be a left guard and he's going to start for 10 years, his adjustment has been a little difficult, right? Obviously, we saw some pressure coming off the left side. That probably shouldn't have happened. I think some of that's going to come. He's got to build some sort of synergy with Latham.
Okay.
Latham is also moving to the left side.
Yeah.
He played right tackle when he was at Alabama.
He was primarily left.
In high school.
In high school.
Yeah, in high school. And so it's not to say that he can't do it, but there is an adjustment period where you have to get your mirror technique, right?
And it was a first-round draft pick as a right tackle.
It's the first game.
Right.
So like I said to these guys, in September, if you come out 2-2, you're fine. It's all preseason to me. You're feeling each other out. You're feeling the teams out. You just see how the offense and defense goes.
Tomorrow's no longer preseason.
Tomorrow's a must.
It's really all at this point with Skoronski and Latham, if they can start to, if you look at some of the pressures that Chicago was able to force, right? They came off of stunts. They came off of different looks.
Pressure the right-hand side.
They were able to get them into situations where they weren't sure, hey, do I pass this guy off or do I take him, right? So as long as that line sits down in the film room and kind of goes, hey, all right, so next time we see this type of a stunt, when the inside guy the 3-tech, when he wraps around and we got the 5 or the wide 9 or whatever that is, and he's crashing inside, we know to switch that right away. So it's all about building synergy. Offensive line play is all about playing as a team. It's really more so the basketball group on the field at all times.
Yeah.
So you want to see a step up this week, obviously, against the Jets. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to rotate 8 deep on their defensive line. You know that already. So how do they handle it? Are they picking up? Are they not making the same mental mistakes they did last week?
Yeah.
I think if you see the same mental mistakes this week, that's when you start to worry a little bit.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, Jarett.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you got your picks. We're gonna wrap up.
Besides that, I just want to ask you before we do our picks and we let you go. Give me a final prediction tomorrow in tomorrow's game.
Well, the Jets, if you look at last week, San Francisco on the road, Monday night game, could not hold on to the ball. And what it came down to was they were too scared of the downfield threats that San Francisco brought, right? That's why they kind of sat back and they wouldn't load the box. So San Francisco was able to hand off to Jordan Mason, pick up 5 yards of play. Okay, so the question is going to be, excuse me, the Jets, how much do the Jets respect Levis and these playmakers? Because there's playmakers, right? Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Calvin Ridley. Your running backs out of the backfield. Chig Okonkwo is becoming a very respected name, right? Chig is a player.
So far.
Chig is a player. All right? He had that catch in the end zone last week. Oh, my God.
And we love to see that because he struggled with drops in year 2 a little bit.
Much better catch than throw.
So he's a guy that's ascending, right? So how much do they respect them? If they load the box, I think we're going to be talking about a very tight 3-point game.
Yeah.
Give me a score.
It's all right. You don't need to worry about
27-24.
27-24.
Who wins the game? You didn't say who wins the game.
Well,
the
if
second
Jets
number is
load the
home.
box, if the Jets load the box, it'll be the Jets. They have the defenders to load the box.
Well, I'm just happy you have a score over 24 points, 17 points.
If they don't load the box, it'll be 31-17 Titans.
John, it was a pleasure having you on. Always a pleasure.
Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you guys finally. We've been talking. We've done, what, 3 pods or something together?
Yeah, it's good to see you in the flesh, John.
The sick family. The sick family.
Absolutely.
John Vogel, draft
John Vogel.
Thank you, guys.
Draft specialist for the Sick Podcast. One of the best.
Before we go, guys, you want to talk about our we did our Thursday.
Let me get in the middle here now.
Get over here. Come on.
Get in the middle.
Watch the wire.
Whoa.
Watch the wire.
See, look.
Get a little step over.
I almost screwed everything up. I almost did.
Little step.
I almost did.
So we did our normal podcast, and we picked our own parlays. We kind of combined it today since we're at DraftKings. You are in the spotlight. Look at the camera right here.
He loves being in the spotlight.
We combined our picks today, so we all can talk about our picks. We're combining a 3-team parlay.
Yes.
Me, Sal, and Vinny. It's plus $800 right now. I am going with the San Francisco 49ers right now. They're minus 4.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't care if Christian McCaffrey is not playing or not. Jordan Mason and Brock Purdy and company proved to me against the Jets front, which we verse tomorrow, guys, that they can be a top contender in this league still. So I'm giving 4.5 points away. So.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm going with the Bengals plus 6 against Cincinnati. I mean, I know everyone's writing off Joe Burrow like he's got nothing left in the tank, like he's 45 years old. But I think the Bengals are going to be okay. They still have Jamar Chase. They still got T. Higgins. They still got Joe Burrow. I think that's going to be one of the top 5 games of the year this year. I don't know how in God's green earth that's going to be any less than a 3-point loss for either team. So give me the Bengals plus 6 all day.
And call me crazy. I'm rolling with the Tennessee Titans money line. Call me a homer. Call me what you want. I truly believe we are going to bounce back. The Jets did nothing last week against San Fran to make me fear them at all. I think we are hungry. I think it's the home opener where we need to win, and I think they're going to do right by Will Levis in the sense that they'll take the game out of his hands a little bit, run the ball a bit more, set it up for the play action. And I think we win this game. Feel free to take the points, but I'm going to roll with them money line plus 145.
That's it. That's 3-team parlay plus $800. San Francisco minus 4.5. The Bengals plus 6. Titans money line. You guys got to grab it, man. I mean, we're all over it. I'm 3-3 right now, waiting for Ole Miss to cash in my ticket.
And if we want to talk about the signs a little bit,
please tell everybody.
We're talking about, and we can shout out Jersey Jerry for being creator of the sign. Shout out Jersey Jerry. Shout out Jersey in general. But We checked into our hotel today. What floor are we on, gentlemen?
16.
16 floor. Who wears 16?
Treylon Burks.
16 is now the sign, okay? We saw a commercial
With Ron Slay.
wearing a Treylon Burks number 16 jersey. So we don't know exactly what the odds are at the moment, but we are going
icing on the cake. It's Vinny's birthday.
September
on the 16th.
The 16th.
Sprinkle it, baby. Anytime touchdown.
Anytime touchdown, no matter what the odds are. Bet it. The signs are the signs. That's all I got to say about that.
That's it. Listen, guys, we have almost 1,000 people watching us today, okay? This podcast right here, obviously, the Sick crew brought us in, and we could not be any happier they did. But this all started with a couple of guys who met at a Titan tailgate. That's all how it started. We were in MetLife Stadium, ironically, at a game exactly like the one we're going to watch tomorrow. It was Titans-Jets at MetLife Stadium. These three guys met each other, the rest is history, and you guys have every little bit to do with why we're here and why we're growing and why we're going to continue to grow. So I can't thank all of you enough. I'm sure a majority of you we talk to on a regular basis on this app. If we don't, feel free to give us a shout out on Twitter, ask a question. We always like to engage with everyone. And please make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell, make sure you know whenever we're going live, because it looks like we're on potentially the trajectory to do more and more great things, and it's all because of every single one of you.
Show your love, show your hate. We'll take anything we can get.
That's it.
No such thing as bad press.
Yeah, it's been a blast, guys. We hope to see all of you. If you are in the state of Tennessee and if you're going to this game tomorrow, make sure you DM me, Jarett, Vin, whoever. We're going to try to be blowing around wherever the wind takes us, and we're going to try to see and hang out with as many people as possible. Shout out Teron Davenport again. Shout out Mr. Vogel for joining us. And that's going to do it, guys. This is a must-win. We both said it. It's showtime, and we will see you all right across the Cumberland River. So without further ado, guys, as always, you guys anything else to say before we wrap up?
You said it.
Tighten the fuck up. Let's get this win tomorrow, boys.
Let's get this fucking win.
Let's fucking go.
And tighten up. So, boys back home, you know the drill. Send us out of here, baby.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.